guys. So I'm in a car right now. We're just at the border crossing the Colombia border into Mexico. We're with the kids. Say hi, kids.
Hi.
Hey. David went in to try to figure out our paperwork. It was almost so easy of a process that we bypassed the building where you're supposed to get your visas and temporary car permits. Altogether, we drove like a mile past it before we thought, where is that place? I thought we were supposed to get paperwork or they're not going to let us out of this country. So we drove back around like we were driving into the United States and pulled off, had to ask a few people. No one speaks English around here, which I thought at the crossing everyone would speak English, but apparently not. So our adventure has already begun. It was really easy to cross across. There's hardly anyone here, and I guess getting back the other way is going to be the trick if we hit that part. But we're going to need some documents with us to cross back that we need to pick up right here. So everything looks good. We haven't seen a rest stop or a bathroom in a little while, so hopefully we can find one on the Mexican side that's pretty safe. We have about 11-ish hours to drive until we get to our apartment that we've never seen yet. Tonight we should have someone waiting there for us with a key, and I wonder if you can see the back. Do you see how high our luggage is back there? It's all the way to the ceiling. But we didn't want to bring like a trailer or even like an overhead car thing. We're just driving our little minivan because we didn't want it to be too much of a target to people to come up and... Here's David. He's back. Let's see what he says. We're not done. But... Oh, we're not done. Did we hit the right place?
Yeah, I just need
we're in the right building.
I just want your help filling this stuff out.
Nice. We got paperwork. Hey, we're going to be legal in Mexico. Wish us luck.
All right, we made it.
Yeah!
We're in our home now, and we had
It's not really our home yet.
Yeah, that's true. We had some...
We'll mention that mishap in a minute.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning of our trip.
Okay.
So we started out in San Antonio, right? And then we drove, it's about 2 hours from there to the border that we crossed at. We crossed at the Columbia River, or bridge, Columbia Bridge. Crossing, which is not quite in Laredo, but it's just outside of Laredo. And so we crossed there primarily just because we had received quite a bit of advice that was a really good crossing. And it turned out to be pretty good.
Good advice.
Yeah.
I mean, there were only a couple people in the building. Truck drivers a little bit, but like super slow, super laid back, not a big deal.
Yeah. And I mean, we went through without even having to show our passports. It was kind of crazy. And then we're like, oh shoot, we have got to go back and get our paperwork. So, if you're crossing at that border crossing, you just got to make sure you're looking right off to the
just
right.
Like right there.
Yeah,
that
it's
building
just
is
right
it's
there.
So easy. Everything's in one building.
Yep.
You can get your permit for yourself, your FMM, and your TIP, which is your permit for your vehicle if you're driving it.
Yeah.
So
we almost missed it just because, we were occupied with.
It was too easy.
Going through the lanes. I mean, we were paying it too. I was paying a lot of attention to just going through the right lanes, making sure we were going the right way. And then they pulled us aside after just to make sure that we didn't have anything we shouldn't in the car. And so they pulled us over for that, looked in the car a little bit, nothing I got out and opened the trunk just so that they could look in, nothing huge, but that's where we should have parked.
Yeah.
Instead, after they checked us out and they're like, okay, you're good. We
just kept driving.
We kept pulled out and kept driving, and we're like, and then later it was like, oh shoot, we should have parked there, gotten out, gone inside the building that was right there next to us. And so things to learn, right? And so hopefully if you're doing that same crossing, you'll learn from what we're saying here.
It was really easy. We just took the toll roads as we've been recommended. And you'll notice, you have to go like maybe 40 minutes or so before you get onto a toll road. And you're like, whoa, these roads in Mexico, we're definitely not in the States anymore. Just lots of potholes and not really kept in very good conditions. But as soon as you get on the toll roads, it's like night and day difference. It's so much better. The speed limit is still pretty slow compared to like US freeways, but just way better roads and hardly anyone's on the roads. And maybe they stopped us twice just because we had different plates, looked
Yeah.
different. But we didn't have to pay any bribes, as we, could have been prepared for. It was really so much easier and stress-free.
Yep. Yeah, so really easy. We had to, like Melissa said, we had to go slower than we were kind of expecting. I mean, the speed limits are a lot slower, and it's in kilometers, so make sure you note that, right? If you are not used to looking at kilometers, make sure you prepare for that. Our car has kilometers and miles on it, so I was just able to look at kilometers instead of miles. If your car doesn't, you got to make sure you have that transition down. But yeah.
Things we've learned about Mexico so far, just, from our driving experience. One is that they have this, like, Mexican courtesy type of thing where the nicer the car you drive, the faster the speed limit is for you. And the crappier car you drive, the slower the speed limit is. It's like this hierarchy, or like this kind of like caste system based off of what kind of car you drive. So if you're driving down the street and you're driving and your car is nicer than the car in front of you, the car in front of you will just kind of slightly pull to the right so that
into the shoulder.
You can they just totally drive in the shoulder.
They use the shoulder all the time. They drive in the shoulder, like.
So you can pass them because they figure the more expensive cars are in a hurry or something like that. And this is our conclusion, not knowing anything, right? But if a car is behind you and it's nicer than you are, like it's a more expensive car, the courtesy is for you to pull to the side so that they onto the shoulder and just keep driving on the shoulder. You don't just like pull over. You just keep driving on the shoulder and they'll just drive right past you. So, I mean, it's very common that on like, a 2-lane road, one way each direction, it's potentially a 4-lane road because people drive on the shoulder all the time.
Yeah, and we were pretty consistently the whole time, like 20 kilometers per hour over the speed limit. Like, at first I was like trying to keep lower and more closer to the speed limit at first because, I was just, you don't want to get pulled over, right? In a foreign country, right? But eventually I realized, okay, the trucks are the only ones that even get close to keeping the speed limit. And so there's all these cars that are zooming past. And so I realized, okay, about 20 over seems to be where people go. And some people go way faster than that. Others do go a little bit slower than that. If you want to be safe, you can go slower than that, obviously. But that's kind of what I found. And the GPS, and I had to be going at about 20 over in order to keep up with what the GPS was projecting for when we were going to arrive. So the GPS was like, oh, you'll arrive in this many hours. But I noticed when I was going the speed limit, that time would increase. And so it was like, oh, okay, it's
almost like they expect you to drive faster than they say. Maybe that's why they have the speed limit lower. I don't know. Law enforcement seems to be different here. I mean, there's not a whole lot of enforcing. Parking is another thing. In the streets of San Miguel, there's parking all on the streets. But even if you park in a no park zone, they don't really care. If you do see someone, you can just tell them, oh, it'll just be a few minutes. And it's not really a big deal. You see cars parked in no parking zones all the time. They don't have like booths. They're not going to tow you. They really don't even care to give you a ticket. So, I mean, it's a lot more laid back, a lot more chill.
Yeah. So no problems there. I mean, and you still have to watch for potholes almost wherever you go. The toll roads are significantly better. And once we got down to Guanajuato, and the states down near our destination, even the federal roads, like the roads that were not toll roads, were actually
way better
condition. When we first crossed the border, that was the worst roads we saw the whole trip.
So don't let it scare you if you're just crossing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people watching this are actually thinking about doing this. We might be the sole crazy ones, but if you're crazy like we are, a few tips for you. Another thing that surprised us is that, I mean, I don't know, I hadn't really looked at much of the landscape or geography of the land, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the drive is just so
gorgeous. It was a beautiful drive.
We're from Utah, we're used to the mountains, and there were so many mountains and Joshua trees and, just so much scenery. Tons of shacks along, abandoned shacks everywhere.
Totally.
But we see that even
that
in the
was one of
States
the
on
interesting
tractor center.
things to me is that there's so many abandoned buildings. Like that's kind of shocking to me. Like there, I don't know if it's because they're too poor to fix them up or if it's just not practical to like we. That was
it almost reminds me of like Native American stands or even just like any roadside stands, fruit and vegetable stands, maybe from Mexicans or other immigrants, whatever. I mean, you see them frequently in the States that are just kind of like lean-to shack type of things. But I mean, there's so many on this road.
Yeah.
And they're very clearly abandoned. I don't know.
Well, and a lot of them are brick and mortar. You know, they're brick and mortar, not just like a lean-to so much, right? Where in the States,
been there a long time. I would assume.
Yeah. In the States, you might see some roadside like shacks and stuff where they've set up some shops and whatnot. But and they might be abandoned. But down here, you'll find all sorts of things. So anyway, fascinating facts that we discovered as we were down here.
Which I've seen a lot in a lot of developing countries before. I think I've done a little bit more traveling than David has. And so that's common, but still it's surprising by the sheer number that you see.
Yeah, very interesting.
So, beautiful drive though. It kind of rained off and on. It's actually raining right now outside, which has been really nice because it cools it down a little bit. I don't think we have AC or heat in our apartment. And so it's nice that the weather's really been helping us out. It's not getting too cold or too hot. So when we arrived, we got here, expected to pop into our apartment, which you've just seen pictures of online, but we found a really good deal. And the woman we've kind of been working with is like, I'm so sorry, but the toilet flooded today and that apartment, you can't go in it for a week. I wonder if that's actually the real story, but whatever. She's like, anyways, just stay in this apartment for a week. Which is kind of annoying when you're moving all of your stuff. But the first one she showed us wasn't going to work because there weren't enough beds. Then now we're in a little place. I hope that is smaller than our actual apartment. We'll see. And, welcome to, bugs. Bugs are friends. We just live and sleep with bugs on the ground, and it's really not a big deal. It hasn't been a big deal.
No.
If I were in the States, I would be probably freaking out because I feel like it's my home, and I like to keep it clean, and I like to have a little bit more control over it. This place doesn't really feel like home yet, and so it was the critters' home before it was my home. They're welcome to stay.
And it's not too bad. I've seen much worse, for sure. But
I haven't seen geckos on our walls indoors yet. But I'm sure they'll come.
I don't know if there's geckos here. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen geckos on the walls.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Outside, just not inside yet. But it's common. It's common to have geckos inside in places like this. So we're just being friendly and sharing our spaces. We had a stray cat come into our apartment last night as we were loading our stuff, unloading, and I didn't really want to touch the cat to get it out because I don't know what kind of diseases these things carry. Stray dogs, not as much as I've seen in other places in other countries, but definitely still there. I've warned the kids, don't touch the dogs, don't go pet them. Yeah. The people are really nice.
People are super nice, and we'll probably talk more about that later. But I think this will wrap it up for this video. I want you to make sure you go down and subscribe, hit the bell icon so you guys get notifications when we post videos in the future. Hopefully this was fun for you. If you're not planning on traveling at all, this might have been a little bit boring, and the rest of the video might even be more boring. But the rest of the video here, we're going to be showing just kind of more the process that we went through, and also just you get to see some of the drive that we had if you watch all the video. Otherwise, you can just turn it off here and be done. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, here I am at the Mexican border. We are waiting for people to help take care of us here. Just get all our papers in order. It's a little bit of a process, not too bad though. Back through that little teeny hallway there, we had to get our personal, our visas, and then we had to get some copies of those and our passports, and we've got all of our vehicle documents as we're
we're ready to cross. We've got copies of everything. They want copies of everything. They like their copies here. And then I'm just waiting in line here for hopefully the last step. And then we'll be good to go. And it's a pretty short process, so not too hard.
Hey, we're on our way.
We are on our way.
Got our validations. We're legal in Mexico right now, believe it or not. Even our car is legal. We're legit. And there's a huge difference, we'll just say, in driving in the United States and in Mexico. Like, first thing you notice is that they need some major road work. And there's no signs, like things are not very well marked. So we're really glad we have a good GPS. I'll let you see the road.
The roads,
Maybe? Can I
the
turn
roads
this
are
around?
actually really nice right here. I don't know if you can turn it around without stopping.
I might not be able to
first,
turn this around.
but Yeah,
There's not much to see. It's okay. I can
maybe we'll do a different video.
turn it this
Let's
way.
do a different video.
There we go. There's a lot of, so this port that we're at is the biggest port for exports of things that are being exported from Mexico into the United States. Virtually every semi-truck has to go through this Laredo crossing border, which makes it easier for people like us to just kind of slip through the border. As we easily did, we nearly forgot to stop at the office to get our tourist visas.
They didn't ask for a passport or anything.
Nothing.
Like,
They didn't look who was in the car.
well, they asked how many people.
I told them there was 6 because I'm still working on my Spanish.
Even though there's only cinco.
Cinco. But it's, it's a rainy day here. And the roads are clear. We'll be on toll roads most of the way, so we're not too concerned about it. And we have about 9 hours ahead of us.
That's right.